Hello everyone, and welcome to the Hints of Hisui podcast. I'm Wolf Tycho, and I'm here with Kaner A5, Nurse Ethi, and Tomix9 Tomix.
Hello, hello.
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 Before we jump into the episode, I need to make a statement.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Dear community, it has come to my attention under the wise counsel of my legal advisors that my recent overemphasis on Overworld Shadows has caused considerable distress and undue inconvenience. It is with a heavy heart and an exaggerated sense of responsibility that I must apologize for this grievous error. I now realize that my fervent support of these shadows may have been perceived as an authoritarian attempt to force my personal preferences upon others. For this, I am deeply, profoundly, and perhaps excessively sorry. I never intend to create a world where shadows would loom larger in importance than the actual gameplay or disrupt the balance of the universe as we know it. In my enthusiasm, I fail to recognize the far-reaching implications of such shadows on your collective gaming experiences. My actions have clearly shaken the very foundation of our community, and for that, I must beg your forgiveness. Please rest assured that I am taking this matter with the utmost seriousness. I've been advised to refrain from making any further comments about shadows, or any other visual elements, lest I accidentally incite another aesthetic uprising. In closing, I wish to humbly apologize once again for any and all inconvenience, emotional turmoil, or existential dread that my strong opinions on shadows may have caused. I promise to exercise more restraint in the future, and ask for your patience as I navigate the difficult journey of self-reflection.
Finally, justice.
Well, you know what?
That's sweet.
I'm not sorry. If you have a Gen 4 game, I want Overworld Shadows in it.
Andy, when did you write that?
Right?
Yeah, like what?
I've had free
I
time.
mean, should I like? Should we actually be taking this seriously?
No.
There was some like, there was a good amount of like genuine emotion. I'm like, oh, did like?
I was
I'm
scared for a
scanning
minute,
the-
yeah.
I was scanning the YouTube comments like, huh? Who?
No, no, that was, I thought that would be a hilarious way to continue the bit, because Tomix recently commented,
I did leave a
I'm only
comment.
halfway through and I'm going to stab Andy over his no Overworld Shadows counter. If you're a dev watching making a game for Gen 3, Overworld Shadows are not a must, and he was going on just bashing on to me. And so I was like, you know what? Tom's right, I'm gonna apologize. You know, I've spoken to my legal advisors, and I think that's the best move forward.
Oh my gosh.
I get the feeling this isn't the last we've heard of Overworld Shadows.
No, because I will bring them up if Wolf doesn't.
Gosh.
Okay, look, if we're being completely serious here, if I feel Overworld Shadows should be in a game, and I feel like it, like, even if it's just like a nitpick level thing, I will bring it up. But I also like understand where Tom is coming from. Like do what you want. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
everybody's personal preference.
Especially for Gen 3, I feel like.
Yeah, especially for Gen 3.
Yeah, that's more fair. But, yeah. I don't know, I just thought it'd be funny to make
No,
an
it definitely
apology.
was.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know, for me, like, the last, outside of writing this, I'm now a senior in high school, so I'm slowly but surely getting older.
Yeah, little kids all grown
That's
up.
crazy. You're still a child in my
Well,
eyes.
honest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm respectfully, I'm always gonna refer to you as the a child or the child comparatively.
The child.
Child.
Like we could end up doing this podcast for another 10 years, and I'd be like, oh Andy, you're such a little baby.
Yeah. Oh god, in 10 years I'm gonna be 27. I don't want to think about that.
In 10 years, I'm
What?
gonna be 40.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
gonna be
let's let
pretty-
someone else talk to that. Like,
I turn 30 next year.
Uh, But yeah, I don't know, what else have I... Oh yeah, the thing about going back to high school, I forgot how just, like, jerks people are in high school.
No. Oh, you wonderful, sweet summer child. I'm glad. I'm glad that you forgot, but I'm also that breaks my heart to hear.
Yeah, not
That
to
sounds
me.
about right.
They've been fine to me. It's to the teachers.
Yeah, nah, teachers
Oh.
have it tough. Just wait till Gen
Hmm.
Alpha starts going to like high school and
Oh,
stuff,
no.
bruh. Teachers aren't.
Oh,
It's
no.
gonna be a whole new language. We're gonna have to make a second language. This is why everybody needs to go play Chants of Sonar right now, because y'all are gonna have to decode new languages on the fly. Like it's crazy the
Yeah.
new words they're coming up with.
No, literally, my mom is a teacher for a middle school, and it was saying how, like, those kind of new slang words are being brought up, and I was just like, okay, Mom, if you hear anybody say one of those words, that's a good excuse to do old-timey punishments. They
What the fuck
completely
is Andy
just-
Like
about to
what?
say?
Like what?
is Andy about to say?
The tripod and dunce cap.
Oh, I was thinking things involving like a yardstick.
I was thinking corporal
Oh.
punishment. Yeah.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, okay.
That-
I'm a
okay,
I'm a different
legal-
old school.
Legal disclaimer, that was a joke.
Mine's not.
What is a dunce carp? Is that not a Pokemon?
No. What? No.
Do you not know what a dunce cap is?
Dunce cap.
No.
Oh no.
Oh my.
Oh, the dunce cap. Now I know what you mean.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Okay. Sorry, I was thinking like one word, like dunce
Same
bars,
here.
dunce cap.
Mhm.
Same here. Yeah, now I know what you mean. But
That should be like a regional form of Dunsparce. He just evolves and puts on the cap.
yeah. Oh yeah. Also,
Somebody
since
make
we're
it happen.
doing This game now. Should we decide what game, or should we do that near the end of the episode, deciding what game we do next?
I don't care. I will say
Is
there's a
that
good
thing?
chance between this episode and the next episode, I probably will not have. I don't even know if I'm going to be in the next episode, so that's
Okay.
that. So we'll see, but I probably won't have time to play another game, just because I will be gone for the majority of the next recording cycle.
That's fair.
Right.
I mean, originally it would have been Kane's turn to pick next. So do you want to pass on your turn then?
Or y'all could play a game that I've already played.
True.
Maybe that'd be the best. Anyway, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so those two other games then are Forgotten Saint and Tower of Ashes. Who here has not played? Wait, Tom, you haven't played Tower of Ashes.
I haven't
I
played Tower of
haven't
Ashes.
either.
You haven't?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I can talk. I have started playing Slowpoke Shack.
Nice.
I'm gonna be honest, at the beginning I wasn't feeling the writing, especially for like one group of people. But it's grown on me as the game has gone on.
Interesting.
And now I'm enjoying it a lot more.
Yeah.
It's
Or-
quite a long game, right?
It's
So quick that.
like I'm at 4 hours at the moment, but I'm near the
That's
end.
pretty long. Yeah.
Well, I mean, long for this jam, but not long in jams in general, I feel.
Mm.
I mean, we have no 20-hour game jam game.
Thank
Yeah.
fucking God. Oh my God. Yeah, so y'all, I'll let you guys choose between Forgotten Saint and Tower of Ashes.
I lean towards Forgotten Saint because I feel a lot of people have given a lot of attention to Tower of Ashes as of
I'm
late.
also leaning towards Forgotten Saint.
Okay.
You okay
Works
with
for
that,
me.
Ify?
Yeah. I'm game.
Because I think I rated Ethy after I finished Forgotten Saint, and I was like, I have opinions on this game.
You do.
Oh.
You do.
So, yeah.
And I
Um,
also think
that'd be
I'll
interesting.
bring an interesting viewpoint since I've made a game at least similar in the multiple graphic generational style. So I'm very interested to see how they handle it.
Yeah.
I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, speaking of anything else of note that you guys have been up to in the last week before we want to jump into Perilous Heights?
I did drop the Chance of Sonar. That's like the one game that I'm playing, but I like also my entire like brain power is going towards going out of town, but I don't want to drop where I'm going on like a podcast that's released everywhere because it is like a specific location at a specific
Fair enough.
time. Not even like a general like city or like area. Like literally like you could probably find me if you tried hard enough, and I don't want that to happen.
Fair enough.
I love you guys, but I don't love you that much.
So no Cade meet and greets in the future.
No,
find out
no.
Next week, what you've been up to.
Yeah, I'll talk.
Yeah.
That'll be the only thing I'll be able to talk about too. I'm very excited. It's the best hint you're gonna get.
All right.
He's excited. Ooh, where could it be?
Where could it be? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, last week I was on like a week-long vacation from work, and I went on a small little holiday around Japan with my family, and that was nice. We visited a cat island with lots of cats.
Nice.
That's very cool.
But yeah, I did get in some time at the end of the week, but like this week, I guess, playing some games. I streamed some jam games that I guess we'll talk about later. But I also picked up a new indie game called Arco, which has been very fun so far. It's like I'll link the Steam page in the Discord. It's just ARCO. It's got this like weird combat that's turn-based, but also kind of like actiony. Imagine like, I guess like if Hades was somehow turn-based at the same time. So you click in action and then both parties will execute it simultaneously. And you're sort of aiming your arrow where you think they'll move, and then you click the play button, like a few seconds plays out, and you continue to move. Really cool.
Interesting.
Okay.
It's also, its story seems to be about like Native Americans, which is something I genuinely don't know much about the history of.
That actually
It's
makes
very,
me a lot more interested in it. I've done being from like, I don't know, maybe it's just Minnesota, but I feel like being from the Midwest, there's a lot of like stuff that they teach you about like Native Americans and American Indians. So
Good.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know like literally nothing about that stuff. I think like honestly, my only real exposure to it would be Pokemon Frontier, the fan
For
game.
me, like what I remember being learned about, like,
That's
stuff like
really
that.
tough. That's really tough because
I mean,
that's like barely.
the stuff that
Yeah.
I learned about with it in school is like the price of progress and the railroads and kind of how they got screwed over and just being pushed to different like areas. And that whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, there's the
So I'm
general.
interested to play more and learn more because I imagine this will genuinely like open up a lot for me, and I'm probably going to do my own research after I get confused about some things.
Hey.
So genuinely like a very interesting experience so far.
That is, yeah, that's very interesting. I'm wondering if it's based on like one single tribe or if it's just more generally based on Native Americans as a whole. It looks a lot more like maybe Navajo based, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking out of my ass.
I could not tell you.
Maybe.
Maybe one day I'll be able to tell you.
Most of my education was about like the Trail of Tears and
Yeah.
Conquest, especially like since I'm in Alabama. There's a lot of like there's a lot of locations in Alabama that have ties to the Trail of Tears.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we are a state of many wrongdoings and a lot of good things that have come out of those wrongdoings. And you know, sometimes that makes me a little proud to be from Alabama. We get things right eventually after being so wrong. That's what I'm gonna say about civil rights too. We did
Yeah.
shit so bad.
Anyways, to get out of talking about not politics, but you know, stuff like this on a Pokemon podcast too much. What have you been up to, Ethan?
So as of recording, I've finished 4 consecutive 12-hour shifts,
Yay.
and I need iPad games. Like, I need something that I can do on my iPad because sometimes I have a lot of downtime during work.
Okay.
And I need something to play on my iPad. So I am accepting recommendations for my iPad. Not
Sky.
really my
Sudoku.
Android.
Did you just say Sudoku?
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Sudoku's good.
Yeah.
I used
Yeah,
to
I do
have
Sudoku in my downtime. At,
I
like,
used to have
school.
like a 2-year streak on my Sudoku app on my phone, but I got tired of it. I'm like, I'm good.
Oh.
There is a game called Sky. I have not played it, but my video game design friends from college recommended it to me. It's by the same people who made Journey.
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
So highly recommend that.
Okay, I'll look it up.
On
I
my
also have an
phone
Android
slash
phone. If
iPad-
that,
Go on, Ethan. No.
I also have an Android phone, so I do have like some ROMs of like Emerald and Crystal and Blue and I think I have Leaf Green on my phone. So I guess I could play some ROM hacks on my phone if I wanted to.
You could even get Joy Play and play some fan games.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that Joy Play
Oh
worked.
yeah, also, you were saying that, I don't know if I've shown you guys this. Someone was able to get, like, Abstract working completely on Joyplay, and they played it on this thing. It's basically a makeshift, like, Game Boy-esque thing. I'll send a picture so you guys can see in the chat, but yeah, basically it's like a little... how do I describe it?
Oh, like the Analog Pocket and stuff.
Yeah.
This looks like those. I don't know how many y'all are on TikTok, but this looks like those like random ads on TikTok that you get, like the most
Yeah.
random. Like, if you're a retro game fan, you're gonna love this. Like
Yeah,
type
it
thing.
feels like Emu Game Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no,
exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
No, I just found it cool, like, seeing someone playing Abstract on something like that.
No, that is very cool. Yeah, Joy Play is like pretty damn good nowadays, from what I understand. At least if you're using like the most recent update.
Yeah, I think there's still one problem when it comes to battles, but someone was able to find a fix. I think, but not many people know about it. It's
Okay.
apparently from, like, the Vanguard Discord.
Interesting.
Right,
Nice.
right.
Alright. Thankfully, I'm still in the Vanguard Discord. I'm gonna have to look that up then.
But, yeah, oh boy.
But outside of work, I think all I did was sleep over my 3 days of freedom, so
As you should. I
I
mean,
didn't do
like,
much.
working 12 hours straight is like
Yeah.
like I can barely do 8 hours straight. I feel like most days, like, I'm just exhausted.
Mm.
So
Yeah, I
doing
think
12
about-
is insane.
I think the most I've done is, like, 9, so I can't imagine doing, like, 3 more hours of that. And then, like, 4 days in a row? Like, no.
Yeah, but I was getting paid an extra $8 an hour for like 20 of them, so I'm not complaining.
That seems low, but
That does seem low.
But that's $8, an extra $8 an hour on top of what I'm already making.
well, yeah.
But I
I
feel
s-
like, at
I
least
don't
in
know. Is that
Australia, and I
is that
could be
like
wrong about
1.5
this.
times?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Then,
I was
then
gonna
okay.
say like 1.5 or 2 times should be like for overtime, right? Or late
Yeah.
night hours.
Yeah, and that's not even including like they pay me extra because I work nights.
That's good.
So like that's 20 hours of making over $20 an hour. That's not too bad, in my opinion.
I guess I need to remember to do the American to AUD conversion.
Yeah.
I mean, I
'cause
still
that's
think
more than
from what I understand of what you do. I feel like you should be getting paid way more, but I think you deserve way more. But
Well, for like, I'm like my current job, I'm a unit secretary. So half the time I just sit there and look pretty.
yeah, but when you're not doing that, you're doing very important work.
And yeah, that's also very true. But I mean, still, for like 20 something an hour, that's not bad.
Okay.
Maybe. If you ever need people to fight for your ride fee, we're here. We'll get you more pay.
I appreciate you.
Yeah, we'll get a Twitter hashtag trending.
Exactly.
At hospital,
Yeah.
pay Ethy more.
We will. Well, we will 100%.
I appreciate that.
Alright, so, oh no. Perilous Heights. I've been terrified about this conversation for like the last week.
Oh?
I guess let's get into it then. So let's talk
Yeah.
about Perilous Heights,
Yeah.
the jam game that we all played.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So who wants to start off the discussion,
I
I'll start
don't
it off
have.
since
I think.
Okay, go.
Yeah,
Oh.
go ahead. Ethan.
yeah, since I'm the one that picked it, I've like I've said in the past, I picked this game because I really think that Never This Again is a very underrated developer who has some absolutely beautiful storytelling and very like they do such a good job with like how they do their environments, as well as like some of their spriting is really good, even though like I think some of them might just be recolors, but some of it's just like it's always so interesting and so fascinating. There's like it builds up so well and leaves such a good taste in your mouth when you finish, and it's always been like everything from this developer has always just hit me in just the right spot, and it leaves me feeling good at the end. And I'm very glad that personally I think this game did another good job of hitting that sweet spot, leaving a good taste in my mouth. I had fun. It was different. It was something that I didn't expect. I thought, oh, okay, we're just gonna have a fun time, and oh, there's a mysterious little factory in the middle of the that's a little different.
And then I raided you and I
Oh.
pushed you off a cliff.
Yeah, and then you raided me and moved me off the cliff.
Speaking of which,
Oh.
how the hell was he fine after being pushed off that high? He fell like 5 floors, and the dude was just like, oh, my back hurts a little bit, it'll be fine.
I mean,
That man's
So-
just built different.
so
He's
like,
also a hiker.
I mean,
I mean, yes, but that doesn't mean that you can just fall like 5 floors.
Honestly,
if you're-
there's a lot
if-
of snow down there. You
yeah.
can.
So that would be my counter argument. Now, obviously, I don't really care whether or not it's feasible, but if there's a lot of snow on that mountain, and he's like, that's the first area he's hitting like a massive snowbank of snow that has not been like walked and packed down on yet, that could like theoretically work. And we don't actually know how far down he gets pushed.
Look his Pokemon perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But also it's like, yeah, it's like Pokemon, and it's like I don't know. I felt
It
like
still felt like overly comedic almost, and it's weep, oh my back, with how like sort of serious everything else is.
That's fair.
I will say, like,
Felt
going
very
off
over
of
the
that,
top.
I feel like going off of that kind of a little side tangent, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, I did feel like this was probably the most serious of all the Never This Again games I've played, and I'm pretty sure I've played all of them. And I do think their strength lies a little bit more in the silly, more comedic storytelling, but I think, you know, I think when I originally played it, I was like, the story could be a little bit better, but I think I watched like basically Tom play through the entire game. I had a stream up the entire time, and after watching him play it, I feel like I'm a lot more positive on the game, and I think the game did do like a really cool and interesting thing, and while maybe the dialogue line to line wasn't as good as maybe a less serious one, I still think the dialogue overall was really good. Just maybe not like the excellent stuff we've seen in previous games. But that's not I don't know. I think that's also like a personal opinion of mine, and not like an objective critique on the game.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I didn't really think about that too much, Cade, but I think you are kind of right about your thoughts about the dialogue, because I guess the dialogue wasn't really anything special. It wasn't really too memorable.
Yeah, I didn't really care
There
one
weren't
way
any
or the other about the dialogue.
Yeah, like I didn't crack out laughing purposefully at any funny lines or anything. But just I guess the story for me was more told environmentally. You watch a lot more than you read. You watch the corpses come back to life. You read little lore notes which are more informative, and off that you build a story. And I think that's something I thought this game really excelled at, was sort of like the world it built up. At the start, you know absolutely nothing about the weather plant, you know absolutely nothing about what's going on, or the people who were behind it, or the fungus living in it. But slowly throughout the story, you get more and more hints, and what is a somewhat complicated history actually gets pieced together piece by piece, and not in one single lore dump, but as you actually continually play, which I
Yeah.
think was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess it's moved on to me now. Now that you've mentioned that, I actually don't think I read any of like the lore notes. So also keep that in mind.
They weren't that important. I think
Okay,
you
good,
can
but I-
infer most of the other stuff anyway, with just
But
some
I
critical
thought-
thinking.
The story was a little bit of a mess. Personally. Because, okay, for a twist to not feel cheap. Because any writer can, like, write one story and then should be like, oh, curveball, it's something completely different. But that doesn't really feel earned, and that's kind of how the Parasite Laboratory twist felt to me. Because there was nothing to infer that there was anything like that going on. So it felt like it came completely out of left field for me. That all of a sudden at the very end, like, oh, there was this laboratory that had, like, an infectious Pokemon that also their involvement with the story didn't really come into play until, like, over halfway through the game.
Well, I'd say the game mostly is split into 3 acts. The first act is a very simple setting up the story. You're going up the mountain. I think the second act is more where the game starts to lay its foundations. You find out that the people you're taking up the mountain have another purpose. You
Yeah.
find like industrial ruins inside the cave, and if you're like really really turned on, and this is more obvious in hindsight, you notice that there's a lot of these like weird flowers throughout the cave.
Well,
And
yeah,
then
but-
at the end of Act 2, it gets really twisted, and you're now told that essentially you can't really trust what you've been seeing. Your eyes are deceiving you. You are experiencing something else that is not what you're literally perceiving. And I think that's when the whole like lab thing makes a bit more sense, because you're already aware that something weird is going on behind the scenes. Your head isn't completely right.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think that, like, the ruins for the laboratory was clear enough that it was ruins for a laboratory. If that was supposed to clue you in to, like, hey, there's a laboratory here, that's a little weird. I didn't think it was that.
Well, I think it
At
works
all.
well as like subtle storytelling. I don't think the player needs to know. I don't think the developer wanted 100% of the players to go, actually, I see a laboratory. But I think
Yeah.
it's just something in the environment you can pick up on, or maybe you'll find it more interesting in hindsight once things have been spelled out more clearly.
Yeah, I think like
Well, but-
that's one of the reasons why I feel like watching Tom's playthrough like helped me out so much, because like after experiencing the entire story, to see somebody go back and play through it and be like and seeing like, oh wow, like this is really weird. Like I think that your point, Wolf, of like not really getting like clued into it if you watch like a second person play the game, I felt like a lot more clued into it. Like a lot of the dialogue from, I think, like, I don't know, the first hint is you get where Alistair is like, my name's Craig, and then there's like the couple in the forest who like fake Henry is giving another tour of and stuff like that, and going back and seeing a different person experience that, and then being able to think, knowing what the end of the story is like, being able to think about those events, I think it does actually like foreshadow the
Sort of, but like hallucinations and like what you see isn't like what it actually is. That could be a lot of different things. That doesn't inherently clue the player into, oh, there's like a laboratory with fungus. Like, there's nothing that really clues you into that.
Do they need to get clued in like that though?
I feel like the twist is more effective that way, where you feel like, oh, there was a way to figure it out, and not like, oh, well, that came out of frickin' nowhere. Where'd that come from? Oh, the ceiling? Well, that's great. Now there's a hole in my roof that I need to patch.
Well,
That's
it
kind of-
is a very short game, so I think it does happen very quickly. But the lab reveal happens just before the fungus reveal, and so I think you could kind of figure out that maybe Henry is a subject of maybe
Oh,
some
yeah, you
sort
can
of.
figure it out then, but that was also at the end of the game where the twist was.
Mm.
Well, I'm talking about at the end of Act 2, like when you're experiencing the hallucinations.
Oh, the hallucinations. Don't get me started on the hallucinations. I'm so
Well,
freaking
what's your
confused.
problem with the hallucinations?
They just feel like nonsense, and I know hallucinations are supposed to be nonsense, okay? And they're not supposed to completely make sense. But I feel like, to some degree, it just felt like we were just seeing random stuff. Like, I have no idea why there was, like, the two different daughters at, like, different ages.
Well,
What that was supposed to
my
represent?
understanding of it is that the point is that it means the parasect can access his memories, and so it can play a Henry just as well as Henry can play.
Mm.
Yeah, but with, like, the daughter, what especially didn't make sense with that, like, we were seeing a future version of his daughter along
No,
with the
I'm pretty
present
sure
day
that's
version.
just like a slightly past, not a future. That was my
Well, no,
understanding.
because we see, the daughter at his house, and it looks like the same age as, I think, let me go back. Let me make sure
I
I'm
think that
not-
was just supposed to be like a more recent past.
I don't
Yeah.
even think, like, obviously it would be like cooler if like these hallucinations represented something, but like as you said, and I mean, I don't know, I don't hallucinate personally, but from my understanding, hallucinations are completely random, and I think like, and I don't think they need to represent anything other than, wait, something's wrong with Henry here,
Yeah.
and it's becoming more and more obvious as we go.
Well, but also in stories, I mean, you kind of have to have. I mean, it's not. For a story to be interesting and well written, that doesn't mean that it's one-to-one to real life. Because if something's one-to-one to real life, that doesn't make it inherently well written.
I mean, that's true. I guess,
I
like,
think,
go ahead, Tom.
I think the hallucination serves a purpose in the story that it was supposed to serve. The main thing, the very number one thing, showing that something is not right with Henry's head. I don't think everything needs like a double meaning per se of depth
Yeah.
for it to be worthwhile. I think the hallucination does what it needs to in the story and effectively.
It also just felt. I don't know, it made the whole story kind of feel a little lacking to me, a little. I don't want to say shallow, but that's kind of the feel. Like, there isn't depthness, there isn't, like, stuff to sink into. It all just feels, like, surface level.
Well, for me at least, the depth of the story didn't come from the material of the hallucination, but more the depth of the history. And I guess we can talk about this a bit more, but I feel like not everything in the story of the game is completely spelled out for you. It's a bit ambiguous. how
It's-
exactly things played out at the lab in the past. And I
Mhm.
somewhat appreciate that because I think you really just get to mull over it and think about it a bit more. And I get the feeling you're not going to like this, Andy, because this is something that I thought was maybe a bit so-so. But the final choice of the game, it feels like you don't really have enough information to make the correct choice. But at
Oh,
the
that
same
is-
time, I kind of appreciated that because it let me think more about the final choice, even if I didn't have the right information.
No, at that point I was already checked out with the story. I'm gonna be honest. I was just like
Wow.
trying to get the game done.
Damn.
Because okay, and now all of this was like surface level. I could still give the game a mostly positive review because I thought the mapping was good. I liked the cave was fun to explore, though. God damn, it would have been nice if I had a map because of how much I got lost. Or like, oh, go to this area. I'm like, where the hell is this area? And like, this is a guy who is supposed to be super familiar with these caves. He gives tours. It would make sense to have a map of it. But
See,
And
I
then
would
just
argue
make
against that.
I mean, at that point,
Because-
is he also like already hallucinating? So is the cave like a little
Uh,
bit different?
no.
This is also like most of at least not the beginning section, but I feel like every step after he falls off the cliff, these are like uncharted territories for him.
no, I think the
Hello?
Did we lose Andy?
Did we lose Andy?
Uh-oh.
Oh no, Never This Again got into his chords and cut him off
Oh, no,
mic.
He's hallucinating.
Oh no!
No. Uh-oh.
Do you at least still have the... Oh,
again. Second, so we're gonna not have my video again. Let's go.
Oh
do you have
no!
the track
Sure.
set up, Kate, still?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, cool.
Anyways, what I was saying, now that I'm on my phone, is my computer is having a fit along with me. What was I saying? Something about hallucinations.
You were saying you checked out of the story at... No, the caves you were talking about.
Oh, right, with like the map.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, no, it would have been nice to have a map because I felt fucking lost. A lot of the time. Oh no, we were talking about. I don't think the hallucinations started until we got to like the forest area. Like truly, I don't think we had that many abnormal like things like that were happening around the cave, except for maybe the past tours.
No, I think the
were
hallucinations started.
There is...
I feel like they
one
started before
hallucination
that.
in the cave when you see the daughter before you go into the forest. But again, I think that's something that's a bit ambiguous and something I somewhat
Mhm.
appreciate. As soon as you land, things are maybe a bit arguable.
Well, but
but they're not.
also, I also kind of
Some of that could just be brain damage.
crap because ambiguous is here is fine, but in other games, ambiguous isn't fine, and it needs to have this like determined story.
Oh,
And
totally.
I
But I
find
feel
that
like
interesting.
it provokes, like the ambiguous works well because it does provoke thought. It does make you think about it. And I think there is, for most of the things, I think there's enough to think about. Ambiguous doesn't work when you're given nothing and you're told to think because you have nothing to think about. But when
Yeah.
you're given
Well, I
bits
also didn't
and
do
told to
that yet.
think.
Here I fucking am. But but no, in Perilous Heights, I also like back what I said. Like for something to be ambiguous and for you to think on it, I feel like you need to have a bit more than just like the surface level. Oh, you're hallucinating because of parasect. Shrug your shoulders.
So then in your like ideal world for this game, then like there's going to be a double meaning in the hallucinations. What, like, if you were to improve this game, what would be that double meaning behind the hallucinations?
I mean, it really does depend on what the writer wants to say and talk about. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna get into Berserk too much because y'all haven't played it. But, like, the stuff that goes on there's like 100% meanings behind everything. I think if there was a bit more of a defined character around Henry, that would have been cool. And like if the hallucinations challenged him as a character in some way, maybe he had done something in his past and he's trying to move away from it, but the hallucinations won't let him move away, and it's this constant reminder to him of something he did. I think that was the other thing. Characters just didn't feel very defined to me. They kind of felt like they were moving through the story and not they. No, the story was like moving through them, they weren't moving the story.
That's something I can totally get on board with. I think
Yeah,
like
I can see
we
that.
get accustomed to, like, with Pokemon games normally with like the main character, this is like normal Pokemon, not fan games, the normal character being like perfect and like so like we get in and like does not say anything. So the moment we get into a fan game and the protagonist like says something, we're like, oh my god, this is amazing. But I think like, yeah, it would have been more interesting had there been a little, like, maybe one more layer to Henry. But I think my main critique with like the characters is that we do not see enough of, I forget, Cecilia, is that her name?
Cecilia, the
Yeah,
girl.
Cecilia.
We do not get enough of her. There's like the beginning, and then
And
there's the end. There's no like build up. There's no like from beginning to the moment where like Alistair like pushes you off the cliff. There is like no connection between Henry and the touring group other than you're my clients. And I think it would be a lot like that ending decision becomes a lot more like impactful had there been more of a connection between Henry and the like hiking group. And I think like had I maybe worked on the game, I would have probably tried to find a way to have a few more like if the two groups are going to get separated, which it seems like the story works at like way better in my opinion if they do get separated, but I think there needs to be some sort of like a little bit more time with the hiking group and Henry together before they get separated, because it just felt like to me like I walked down into the lab and Alistar's already like he's just off the goop already. We've got fucking Mr. Dementia, and then we have the one other sane person, Cecilia, who it just comes off as a straight up like maniac, like not being 100% in the brain either. Just because she's like, haha, money, and like that's it. So I think it would be a little bit better had there just been a little bit more like connection, a little bit more time there with the two groups.
And also talking about like the grandpa with dementia, I can't talk personally about this, but I played this on a voice call with Guz and Crimson didn't like how the grandpa was portrayed personally and found it like a little disrespectful.
I can agree with that.
So this is gonna sound mean from me, but I had a grandpa who had dementia and died of dementia. This is how he spoke. I remember this memory vividly. I was about to go to my 8th grade graduation, and we were at Outback having dinner. And this dude, the only thing he talked about was how bad the food was. Like, bro, you're at Outback. Like, shut up. Like, he could not talk about anything other than the food. So, maybe it was like very too much like on the nose, so I had to like it a lot. But I feel like from my experiences with people with dementia that it was like maybe a little bit too comedic, but it was like on brand.
Well,
See, I actually with my grandma, she had dementia and Alzheimer's, and she had the opposite. Like she was still able to like for most of her dementia and her regression, most of her symptoms, she was more like she was still fairly coherent. She would sometimes ramble about things that don't make sense, but she wasn't just like pasta linguine and cheese butter. I don't remember any of the actual dialogue, but it felt very like
Over the
he
top
felt
zany.
yeah. Like, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. My grandma was still kind of zany when, I mean, she was zany before she had Alzheimer's. Where do you think I get it from? Um, but also, but like even when she was at some of her lowest before she could only communicate through babbling, like I'll never forget the time that she had her bony finger in my chest and she was, "You are a fart." Like, I still understood what that meant. I still could like kind of understand, and that was still a complete thought.
Yeah. I will. Yeah. I think.
I guess dementia just it works in different levels. I guess we all
Yeah.
have dementia grandparents here, but me too. Um, but yeah, I think as we can kind of see, everyone just has different experiences. My grandma, she would just talk about people who weren't there at all, like talk to them, even though those people weren't in the room at all. And she would mix up things so easily. One time she fed my brother cat food. Another time she was like 10 seconds away from feeding her cat bleach.
Actually, no,
So
I
like,
can't say
no.
anything. I saw that at work.
right?
My like there were some medications at work. We used to work together in the same clinic, and I watched her mix two medications that aren't supposed to mix together. And thankfully, I was able to catch her and be like, "Hey, wait! I think we got the wrong medicine here. The Usually the medicine stays clear when we mix it. It turned into a milky white, and thankfully that reaction made me go, "Oh, we're stopping here. Okay, I'm gonna mix the medicine this time. Thank you, Granny. I love you."
I don't know, I
Yeah.
feel like for me, it's not like the words that would bother me, but just like using it in the way of like comedic relief that they did could rub people the wrong way.
I
Yeah, I
think
can
like
see that.
you're put in a difficult spot because this dude, it's never revealed that he has dementia, but I think it's like pretty obvious to everybody,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
he's very much supposed to be the comedic relief person. Now, like I find that like I can understand how people think that is like not great. Because I totally understand. You are like disrespecting kind of like a group of people, and that group of people is people with dementia or people who are on their last legs. But in another respect, I pretty much just viewed him as comedic relief, and it could have literally been any sprite, and it could have been a child saying this steak is well done or whatever, and I think it would have gotten the same point across. So I just kind of viewed it as comedic relief. Now, is that a good thing of me to do? Probably not, but
And then, oh, I haven't even gotten into the most infuriating part of the game for me.
Uh-oh.
The frickin'
Before we-
battles.
Before we get on, I just wanted to mention it before I forget. But what you and Cade were saying, Andy, about the characters, I think I do completely agree on, for the most part at least. Cecilia is definitely a character I wanted more out of, because we get very little about how she actually feels about the situation, why she, or how she feels about her dad at all. But yeah, I definitely wanted a bit more about Cecilia, and if she actually has more motivation than just money, or if that's really it. But yeah. Sorry,
no,
Andy, please go on.
Oh no, you're good. With the battles, like, okay, so let me start from the beginning with how the battles work in this game. So, you have two Pokemon, a fighting type, I think Machoke, and a Graveler.
Boldor.
Boulder.
Boulder,
Yeah.
Okay. Some rock type. But yeah, Boulder. And you're going through this tall grass, and I think the tall grass comprise at the beginning of only rock types, and you fight through many trainers that have fighting types, which was a painful experience for me at the beginning, because every time I would go through a trainer battle, I'd be at low health, I would die at the next trainer battle, and then start all the way from the beginning and go back, because there was no way in hell my rock-type Bulldor was gonna be a fighting type. That was just unrealistic. And I couldn't capture any Pokemon in the wild grass to help me out, because they were all just rock types at that point in time. And it wasn't like 1 or 2 trainer battles at the beginning that were like that. I want to say it was like 4, 5, and I was just like painfully progressing through. And that was only, and that, I played the game for like 10 minutes. That started happening. I had to drop playing the game for like a day. And I had to have like people in a call with me, like walking me through the battles so that I could even beat the game and also not lose my mind. The encounter rate I found was really high. I mean, that's just true for caves, but I feel like what this game could have really benefited from is like the overworld encounters plugin that exists. I think that is, say what you want with like how that deals with some encounters. I feel like that just is a net positive when it comes to cave encounters. Cause I have not found a single person that defends how cave encounters are, and in the game, you are pretty much entirely in a cave. Which just makes it a little annoying to walk through, a little annoying to go through. So overworld encounters would have been really nice, especially because that's a public plugin that exists out there, along with the other plugin that shall not be named is public use and out there. But what else was there? The Talonflame battle. Oh, the Talonflame battle. That took me like 4 different attempts. Literally,
I legit don't even. What was the Talonflame battle? I don't even remember that one.
It was a
When
grass
Alistair has
fire
his
type.
infected...
It was what?
A grass fire type, I think.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
that's how
I don't think I remember that battle as much. I think it depends like what team you ended up building, because I really struggled with the double battle with the 2 daughters, and then Tom had a fucking
Same
Hypno and swept the Sneaslers. And I do have more comments on the general balancing, but I think like for a lot of the battles, it just kind of depends on how your team was built, and I think that is kind of a product of some other things that I will get into eventually. But like for example, for the Talonflame battle, I had Glamora, and that wasn't too bad of a battle for me because I had a Glamora. But if you didn't have one, then
yeah.
I can see how that's a really tough battle. Same thing with the double daughter battle. Like if you have a Hypno, you beat the Sneasler. Otherwise, I feel like it's pretty tough. Otherwise, like
Yeah,
there's
that's
not
the
a lot of
thing
other
with, like-
Pokemon available to counter those.
There are some like ways to like diversify your typings in your party near the end of the game, but I feel like that comes like too little too late, where like at the beginning it's just kind of like the same types over and over and over again, and you can't diversify your types until the very end. Which at that point I was already checked out on the game, and so I was just like, no, I'm not. I'm just gonna ram my face to the finish line.
I think you must have really rammed your face to the finish line, Andy, because after Act 1... Oh, I guess after Act 2 you can't catch any Pokemon. But I do agree, and I think this goes for a lot of, like, jam games, in my opinion. But the game doesn't do much to, like, incentivize you or push you to catch more Pokemon. So sometimes it really felt like pulling teeth just to stop for a moment, be like, okay, I guess I should catch this Pokemon because realistically, this is a Pokemon game. And even if this is just a short game, I probably want to build a team of 6.
Is the
Which
experience
is
all
insane.
not enough motivation for you guys? Because I feel like generally, like, if I have an
No.
experience all, I'm just automatically going to catch Pokemon
No.
and add them to my team.
Yeah, that
Well,
was my
because-
instinct, was go ahead and let's start building a team. And I like first Pokemon I caught was Swinub, and it really helped me stomp through most of what we were going through.
I did not have a Swinub. For most of the game, I pretty much only had the fighting type and rock type, which, oh god damn, that made the infected Pokemon near impossible. That was also the thing. If you give us 2 Pokemon, maybe don't make them both, like, terrible against most of the Pokemon you're gonna
You can
Just
find
saying.
a Fire Punch TM and teach that
No, I
to
know.
your. And
And
that
I think I got
trivializes most
that
of that
for
thing.
Aggron. Like, and in fact, I was gonna talk about that. I did like the HM that you got before the Aggron fight. That made it a lot easier, and that one was a walk through the park. Now, the overworld sprite for Aggron didn't look infected at all. I think they just changed, like, the colors of the eyes, even though the battle sprite was a
Mhm.
lot more edited, which was a
Yeah.
little weird to me. And also, I didn't realize going into the area with the Aggron, it was gonna instigate a fight, so I couldn't, like, prepare before the battle, or, like, save. That happened with a lot of battles, actually. I wasn't able to, like, potion up or, like, prepare like I wanted to before a fight, because I would just continue walking in a room, exploring, like, you're incentivized to do this in this game, and then it's like, oh,
Mhm.
this room, apparently, if I go into it, like, just starts a boss battle. That's fun. And so,
Yeah.
probably would have been nice if you did the cutscene, and then to start the battle, you go up to the person and interact with them to start it, so that you can prepare as much as you need to.
Mm.
That is what I would have done that would have been better, plus with, other stuff like that. I have no idea why the hell you have to interact with doors in order to walk through them, and you can, like, walk into them and not, like, walk into them.
It's the new
Yeah, I didn't
Pokemon
like
thing.
that.
It replicates what current Pokemon does in their games. Whether or not that's a good thing, that's up to you.
I think,
no,
yeah,
I
that's mostly
don't
like
like
a
it.
never miss again quirk, something they enjoy.
Alright. Well, go power to you then. I did not like it, but that's also me. I know, I really like the mapping. The mapping I said was gorgeous. But the color text based off of gender with name windows felt weird to me.
I didn't even
I can
notice
agree
that.
with that. I didn't notice it, but I can agree where, like,
Yeah, like
I'm not a fan of that myself personally.
Yeah.
I
Another
think that's
thing,
just what.
E
I don't
didn't
know,
have
yeah.
like an accent over it in Pokemon.
Yeah,
That's
that's
such a minor nitpick.
one of
Oh,
my
I know.
nitpicks. I see
At
it in
this
so
point,
many
I'm going
freaking
into
games.
minor nitpicks, but this is still stuff I feel like I should talk about because it did, like, all of this on top of each other with the balancing issues plus the story problems kind of left it to be a frustrating experience for me. And so that's why I feel all of these I do want to mention at least. Because you could say, oh, the mapping is gorgeous. That's also a minor thing, but
I'd say
no.
mapping's a lot more important than the accent over the E in Pokemon.
Definitely.
Or like, well, yeah, but okay, that's fair. Another minor nitpick, and this is a personal thing that I picked up from seeing from Kenny's games. Like, there's a command, I think it's like \period, that like adds a pause in between like sending out the message, and I really like adding that after commas or periods. Because it adds like this nice flow to dialogue and doesn't make it sound like it's all coming out like this and this is how the people are talking.
Valid.
And that's not something I'm saying you have to do, that's just like a, hey, maybe check it out, I prefer how it is.
I've never done
See if
that
you like
once
it or not.
personally, and I think if there's a comma in the sentence, I think people who read it should inherently feel a pause. But
Well, yes, hopefully they pause, but like with how it like draws out on the screen, it kind of looks like they just blurred it out
I
like, yeah,
will say that's something that's more like us three, we streamed it. When you're not streaming a game, like when I used to do 5-minute reviews, I would always have this nitpick where it just felt like dialogue was coming at you, and it was literally because I was trying to mash through the dialogue, because I was trying to like, I was just like reading it so fast, I was like synthesizing it as quickly as I could, and I was just mashing through it. And you're a lot more susceptible to that when you're not streaming the game. So
Yeah.
I will say that. So it's probably more of a valid point for most people who play fan games.
Sure.
Yeah.
Other minor nitpicks like exits for caves. it didn't have like the tile that goes above it that makes it look like you're going through the exit and not on top of it. So you kind of just walk on top of the exit, which doesn't make sense logistically.
I didn't even
Like,
notice
just
that.
walking on the walls. That's a really minor nitpick, like quality of life thing, but again, when it adds up, it starts to get annoying. Oh yeah, my favorite character, Fenrir. One time, Henry's name window was Fenrir.
I never
guess
noticed that.
That's
I didn't notice that either.
that's just bug territory at that point.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But again, I feel like, ooh, but I did say cool animation of opening the door with the car key. I really like that. There's lots of misspellings of safe as, like, save.
Yeah.
Oh, you cannot convince me this Pokeball is a suitcase.
Oh, but that's just
I mean,
Pokemon things. Like
Pokeball-
every
Isn't a
I
Lumberry,
don't
but
care. I don't care. Well, no, because with items on the ground, I imagine that more as, like, the items are inside the Pokeballs. But, we're not getting the suitcase from inside the Pokeball.
well, if you can find like a bloody rocky helmet inside a Pokeball, maybe you can find a suitcase in a Pokeball.
yeah.
Why was she carrying the suitcase in a Pokeball then? That's my question. Oh, no.
It's more convenient, maybe.
They-
Anyway, I feel like that's such a minor.
Yeah,
minor,
I feel like a
minor-
lot of these things are like really minor to the point where like I will like I notice these things, but they're not like they're so like
Yeah,
small
no, these are
and
not...
uninterruptive of the experience that I don't even like comment on them. Like, yeah, you should
Yeah.
fix them, but like
Well,
I don't really
and
care.
to me, it's like, I don't really care. The reason why I still mention a lot of this stuff, and also that's why I'm talking about this stuff a lot less passionately and kind of just listing them off, because I did write down every single thought I had while playing through the game, so I wouldn't forget. But the reason why I'm still saying it is with developers, I mean, that's not always completely obvious, those things that you should still change, but aren't, like, really big problems. So I feel like it's still worthwhile to say those things so that they are aware of them.
Yep, I suppose.
Yeah.
That I guess there are I don't know. I always assume there's I don't know. I notice those things when I'm the developer, but I don't notice those things when I'm the player.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I think, is that... Oh, other small things of, like, me just making small notes. Like, when you walk onto a tile and it starts to tremor, it doesn't pause the game, you can still walk, which feels a
Yeah,
bit weird.
yeah. That
Yeah,
that is
that's
a nitpick that I also share.
Oh yeah, there are like multiple healing... This is not even a nitpick, this is just something funny. There are multiple healing centers in the cabin for some reason.
Oh yeah, I did notice that.
Why
Like the
not?
bed and the Pokemon
Yeah, the
machine.
bed
both
and
heal
the
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the beds didn't work, so I just kind of ran with that as like, oh, okay, so we're not like it's not the. Oh. Sorry,
Uh-oh.
I had an alarm starting to go off.
Oh, and
And,
also sometimes... I think it was
had
before...
copyright music. I don't know.
Oh. And also
Okay.
with like Act 4, like before that, you didn't, there is... Your save, like, the last place you healed didn't get set, so you had to walk through, like, the forest and all that again to get to the laboratory every time you lost a fight in the laboratory.
There's a healing station in the laboratory in the first room.
Yeah, I didn't find that, but, like, I feel like it would...
You're like 5 steps from it when you start.
Yeah, but to me it just looked like miscellaneous laboratory equipment, not, hey, heal here.
I don't know. I think the game did
Which
a good
that-
job of establishing those machines as healing spots because
Yeah.
they tell you in the cabin, and the one in that lab is just like a slightly different colored version of the same healing machine in the cabin.
Which again, that one I'm not gonna say is completely my bad, but again, it probably would have been nice if they, like, when you wake up in the laboratory, if it just set your, like, respawn point there.
Yeah,
That's
that
true.
would be nice.
And that
Yeah.
was basically my point there. Oh, super small nitpick. This is more about the plugin I think they use, like the Gen 8 or Gen 9 kit, whatever one it is. I think Gen 9. The Flamingo sprite they use, I prefer the one that's an abstract that Lycan made.
That is a very small nitpick.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Or like, since this was like one of the first version 21.1 games, I had like lots of like frustrations with that. Like, for some reason, even though the name of the game is changed in ARMXP, like the game window's name isn't different.
Oh yeah, I did notice that.
Oh,
Yeah, it still
didn't
says
notice.
Pokemon
That's
Essentials
weird.
V21.1.
That's weird. I just assumed that they didn't change the game name, but if they did,
No,
and it just
they
didn't
did,
follow
so
from the window, that's weird.
yeah. And then other stuff with V21.1, I didn't like the change of like the new running keybind.
Something that
That's
like,
been
is
it's been that way forever. I feel like since like 19
what,
or
running
20.
being binded to X?
Yeah,
It's always been it.
it's
Well,
been
not
that
always. I
way
think
for
it's
at
been X
least
since
V20 and V21.
19 or 20. Yeah, it's been
I don't know,
X
because
for a while.
it felt really weird to me while playing.
I think in abstract
But that-
it would be X, no?
But that may be because I recently moved over to PSDK and got used to that. So that
That's
may be
probably
why.
it. PSBK
And then
has a lot of-
after PSDK, I went to Pokemon Essentials GSC, which is on version 18.1.
and that would have a different one, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably why. So that's not a game thing. That was just a unfortunate annoyance for me because I just got used to it the other way around. But I
A
think
nitpick that actually annoyed me a lot, and I feel like is
I know what Tom's
a
about to say, and I
decently
fully
big
agree
deal.
with this.
is they have this stupid mechanic that like if you hold X as you enter a conversation, it will fast forward through the text. But X is the same key as the run button.
yeah.
So if you walk up to anybody and continue to hold X, you just skip their dialogue. And I found that really annoying.
To me, it's like
Mm.
not. It's
That's
not
what I
even.
was doing. Oh.
It's
Yeah,
not even.
no, I
It's
didn't-
not even that though. Like I've learned enough. I've played enough games with that plugin to stop the running. To stop holding the running key before I go talk to someone. To me, it's the player touch events where I'm just running through a route or a
Right.
cave, and I hit a thing of dialogue, and it's like important story stuff, and it just skips. I will say that's my
Yeah,
least favorite
that's
thing
why.
about Pokemon Ash and Frost, because Ash and Frost has that, and every single part of dialogue in that game is important.
Same.
So
I wish you
I had
just
that
bind
with
it to a
Ash and Frost,
different key or just like
Yeah, I
something
wish you could
turn
bind it
up
to a
in
different key.
settings.
Or
It's,
like-
oh,
Yeah, for me that wasn't a problem, thank God, or else I probably would have lost my mind even more than I did. Because I just set it to like automatically run without pressing a button.
oh yeah.
Because I was struggling so much with the run button being X, I was just like, fuck it, it'll just always run. I'm not dealing with this shit. But yeah, I think
I
that's
thought I
all
just
my-
kept running into little bugs.
Oh. But yeah, I think
I
that's
didn't know it was player
basically-
error.
But yeah, that's basically my thoughts. To repeat what I like have kind of said. I mean, I don't dislike it or hate it. I think it's flawed. There's nothing I particularly like about it either. It's not gonna like stick out to me in the future, which is a little sad to me. But also, I mean, I don't know what'll happen behind the scenes with developing this game because I know that influences a lot of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, again, I'm not gonna sit here and be like it's bad. It was a fine experience. Nothing special. I like the mapping. Yeah.
in contrast, I'll say that I quite enjoyed the game, and I think it probably will be one of my highlights for the Jam games, like most Never This Again games are. I thought the story was quite well done, and I think I honestly can't imagine that there would have been many issues behind development because it did feel pretty well paced. I like the act
Yeah.
system. I think it built up very well. But I've already praised it a lot, so I'll just say like the main thing that I think could have used more improvement is just with the serums at the very end. I think there's a lot of ambiguity in the game, and I like that. But I think the final choice, just like a bit more elaboration on how the serums work or what exactly is going on there, would have been nice. But yeah. Oh,
I
also,
will-
I thought the Agron killing Cecilia was a bit much, but
Oh wait, Agron
Yeah.
killed Cecilia?
Okay, so here's my point now. Here's my point is when the decision is to either take the serum or throw it back down the elevator, I thought, because we already survived a cliff fall, right? So I assumed
Yeah.
Cecilia survived the fall down the elevator. And I'm like, well, I'm
Same
not
here.
throwing the serum down the elevator because I'm not, that my entire thing is to take the serum for myself in case anybody else on the mountain needs it because
Yeah.
they've gotten infected. So I'm taking it. And then, all of the sudden, I made the decision that I didn't actually mean to make. So I wish the choices were a little bit more clear on that.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
yeah, I guess that's. I'm glad I wasn't the only one who mixed up which option was which.
Because
Yeah,
there was
I-
no choice to just take it for other people's safety. The choices
Yeah.
were take it and sell it, or let no one ever find out about it. And I think most people in that situation will think, I want to take it for safety, but that wasn't
Yeah.
an option.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was.
they they did the thing where like there's like two ends of the spectrum. There's obviously choices in between on the spectrum, but they don't let you choose that. You have to choose one end or the other end, right? And
Mhm.
where everybody would probably do somewhere in the middle, you had to choose one end or the other one. So
Yeah.
Yeah, it was yeah.
I do want to clarify though. Obviously, like the thing is, we're just like when you play a game and you give feedback on the game, a lot of the feedback that comes out is negative because at least for me, I'm very like improvement focused. I want to help people improve, and the way for me like to help people improve is to talk about the things that I didn't enjoy as much. But I do want to make it clear, like I really much enjoyed this game, and especially after seeing Tom play it, I think it's really cool, and I want to touch on a few other things. Number one is the Never This Again formula that Tom talked about in his stream. And it hadn't really occurred to me until like I was watching that stream that like, Pokemon are these like mythical magical monsters that can like do like absolutely crazy shit. And I love that Never This Again games really focus on that, right? Like they take like a normal like who the fuck even wants to use a Paras or a Parasect on their team? Nobody. I know I don't. And make a very like very cool, interesting story about how powerful these Pokemon can be. And that's a formula that I think a lot of other developers, if you're like struggling for ideas, they should adopt, because I think it's a very simple formula, but it's a formula that works. Same with my other favorite formula that I talk about all the time in fan games. Okay, I can keep talking. I've got other things to talk about with this game. Staying on a positive note, I am surprised nobody mentioned the music of this game. I thought the music was really good throughout.
I did
A bunch of XD themes, I'm pretty sure. Which is really cool. We've touched on the mapping, which was very, very good, I think, in my opinion. But I think my biggest, and this is weird coming from me, right? But I think my biggest problem with the game is the Pokemon selection as a reflection of like the region design, kind of. And I think the problem is that the kind of biomes that you have access to are very limited, right? You have the outdoor exterior of the mountain that's very snowy, you have the cave, and then at the very end you have this forest area. And I do kind of want to call out the forest area as well, because the only Pokemon that you can encounter there are like Dustox and Beautifly, and I was at the point where like, no, I'm not adding these Pokemon to my team. Like every single Pokemon on my team, even though I have repeating types, is better than any of those Pokemon that I can add. So really, you have a very like small selection in terms of typings of Pokemon that you can add to the team, and I think that hurts the game, especially in terms of like certain boss battles. Like for example, what really stung me was the double sister or double daughter battle, excuse me, where like you had to battle a regional, a Hisui and Sneasel and a Sneasler. Now, if you were like Tom and you caught the Hypno that I'd even remember existed, that battle should not be too difficult for you. But if you didn't, then I feel like it's like a lot of the Pokemon do not have good matchups against the Sneasel and Sneasler. Now, maybe I just picked horrible Pokemon to use. Like, I'm guessing Swinub probably was also pretty good, unless they got
Swinub wasn't too bad.
unless they got hit by a fighting type move.
Yeah, and that definitely did hinder me a little bit. But using like the Stomping Tantrum TM definitely came in handy.
Yeah.
And I had a Meditite.
Did I? I did have a Meditite, but it just died. I didn't have a Medicham. Like, Meditite is one of the frailest Pokemon ever, I swear.
Yeah.
I love it, but
I know. I think
it dies.
I also want to like say, with me, like whenever I harp on things, kind of like I have been this time, it is very hard to make something that I like. In all frankness, I can't even remember the last time I've like liked a movie. I mean, I came out in Deadpool and Wolverine, not like loving it. So,
Wow.
That's
which everyone else has
Interesting.
loved, but I think it just made me feel empty at the end of it. So also keep that in mind. I am not the average audience. At all.
Wolfson Eater. Who said that?
Look, if Deadpool and Wolverine can't infest Wolf, don't be sad if your fan game can't.
That's true. If something with
Yeah,
honestly.
millions, maybe even billions of budget can't. What was the budget of this movie, by the way?
I can look. It's in the hundreds of millions, I have to say.
Deadpool, Wolverine.
Budget. Yeah, it was,
Featuring two hotties.
Okay, I mean, 200 million.
200 million. Yeah, like if a 200 million budget can't impress Wolf Tycho, then your free fan game should not be required to.
No.
Yeah.
But I also do think like for I would say 90 to 95% of people this is probably an enjoyable game. So the one last little nitpick that I've not heard people bring up is I think this game is balanced only around physical attacks and not special attacks. And you don't. The only reason I noticed that is because you're facing an Aggron, right? And Aggrons historically are known for having high defense, but not. I don't even know what their base special defense is. Point is, they have way higher defense than special defense. So I'm out here trying to like use special moves against them, but at least I feel like a lot of the Pokemon you can catch throughout the game. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just built my team like this and I'm an idiot. But
Psybeam, I bet.
Yeah, a lot of the at least the Pokemon that I had other than Glimmora were like all physical attackers. And my point more of like the game being balanced physically is every single TM you can pick up in the game is a physical attack.
Yeah.
You can go back and check. I did check that, and I feel like, you know, I do enjoy how the TMs are specifically set up to be put onto your like Machamp, but at the same time, I think there needs to be a little bit more diversity in terms of like having a few special moves, maybe a few status moves available as TMs. But like again, we all finished the game, we all beat the game without your like special TMs. So like
Somehow.
how big of a problem is that?
Yeah, I've got the game open right now. I got Fire, Thunder, and Ice Punch, Rock Slide, Poison Jab, and Stomping Tantrum.
Yeah.
Yep. Again, I'm pretty sure Machamp can learn all 5 of those moves, which is really cool. But I don't know. To me, I feel like
So,
maybe a little bit more
why the
special.
hell are you giving a Boldor?
Because
Boldor's cool.
functionally? Well, yeah, but what battle is that supposed to help you with? Not the fighting types at the beginning of the game, and not the grass type and affected
why does your
type.
starter have to help you against the trainers of the game? Like, he's a
Yeah.
hiker. He takes people up a mountain. A boulder makes sense to me.
Yeah, thematically
Yeah,
makes
but
sense.
thematically, but gameplay-wise, there's no function.
I imagine there would be some
And there probably
parts
is a
where
battle
your
we just
little
don't
rock
remember.
ground comes in handy. I do feel like Gigalith is quite an underrated Pokemon.
Agreed.
He's quite cool.
Though I will say, please, why did our boulder have weak armor? I want sturdy on that thing, please.
Yeah, that was the worst part. That's why I was so happy to swap it with Cloth. Especially with Rock Blast. My Rock Blast Cloth was Chef's Kiss.
I didn't even know you could run into Cloth. Where'd you
It was
find
in
it?
the same room as Hypno.
Oh, maybe I just didn't explore that grass at all then. Like,
No, that one room is the only room you can find Hypno and Cloth in, and I ran into Cloth just thankfully because I didn't have a repel up. And then it wasn't until like much later that I ran back into that room, and that's where I found Hypno as well. I'm like, could have had that. That would have been useful. Shoot.
Yeah.
So I do
Um,
wish that Cloth and Hypno were a little more available, but yeah.
and one thing that I forgot, or maybe I forgot to say, I don't actually remember. I know, like, it's really difficult, like, especially for a jam game, to have like a diverse amount of Pokemon available, and even more difficult, right, when you're on a mountain, a snowy mountain. Like I assume that all you're gonna have are caves and ice types, which is mainly what's there, and you even put a forest in there, which is way more than I like could have thought.
Yeah.
But I think
I guess you could've,
it's an impossible
put
thing to
in-
fix, but that's what developers are faced with.
You could have like theoretically tried to put in like a lava section, but then it's more of a volcano than a mountain at that point, and semantics.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
I
guess
just
mean,
I just
you
wanna
do,
I just wanna like I don't wanna deal out my criticism without like trust me, I understand how difficult it would be to add more diverse biomes to a snowy mountain in a game that is 2 to 3 hours long.
Well, that was the thing. I feel like the battles shouldn't have been as hard as they were for as short of a game it was.
The game, I don't know. I was quite happy about like how frivolous the game was with XP. It felt like you were given lots of rare candy, you had XP all, bonus XP cane for the caves.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
mean,
think the
my-
main thing making the game difficult was the like Pokemon selection and how you build your party. Because I never really had any trouble in the game, but that's because I caught 6 Pokemon, and the type coverage I ended up being quite lucky with.
Yeah, I same as Tom. Like I didn't really have much of a problem with like having a kind of diverse team. Still have the game open. I can pull it up and see. I had my Cloth, Mamamo, Laron. I did have Gigalith on my final team, and then Machamp and Metacham, which like no, that's not like I wouldn't be taking that in any other game, but for this game, like it fits and it worked well enough for me.
Yeah,
And some of that might also just be my playstyle.
I had a Machamp, Snover, Lunatone, Cloth, and then of course the Gigalith.
I don't really want to open the game because that will ruin the audio for everybody.
Oh, yeah,
But
go
from
nuts.
memory, my final team was Machamp, Gigalith, Glamora, Metacham, Lairon. I mean, those first four were the important ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, how long did the game take you guys to finish?
Oh, I've got an exact timestamp for you. Let me find it.
Because for me it was 2 hours 5 minutes.
My stream was 2 hours 59 minutes and 13 seconds, but that's also including my my starting soon and beginning of the game, or like beginning yapping.
I did 2.5 hours, but that also included I had to replay the final act because I wanted to see the other ending, and I hadn't saved in a while.
Yeah.
I am a
you can
professional
also-
slow runner.
Oh,
Mine
Oh,
was
yeah, the
3
game
hours,
streams,
3
right?
hours, 1 minute.
3 hours, 1 minute, one ending.
I will say, if you go back and watch the streams, I had Liam and Noah in there, and they were podcasting. We were yapping. We were yapping during that game.
That's understandable then.
Oh yeah, well yeah. No, I'm not like, but like, it just goes to show how long these games take for me.
okay. But yeah, so the plan is for next time Forgotten Saint.
Yeah, I guess quickly before we move on, Ify talked a bit, but not really about your overall thoughts. How did you feel overall, Ify?
Overall, I genuinely enjoyed it. I did have some little things like the save instead of safe. I really didn't have that much difficulty with like battles or anything. Like,
Lucky duck.
other than like I could be like, okay, yeah, this is kind of a tough battle, but I was still able to get through it after like at worst 2-3 attempts. And I mean, overall, it was still like I liked the little bit of difficulty, and overall, just I just had a good time. I was having fun. I didn't sit there and try to dissect too much. I was more along for the ride as I was exploring and kind of started being like, oh my god, did we get knocked out? Was this a dream when we were having the hallucinations? Are we having brain damage? What's going on? But I just had fun.
Yeah. I
That's a
also
good taste
thought
in
like
my
the same like brain damage thing. At one point I thought maybe we were just dead and this was some weird like purgatory. We died when we fell down the
Yeah,
mountain.
I thought we died too.
But yeah, very fun. Okay, in that case, does
Yeah.
anyone have any final thoughts, or do you want to send us off, Andy, and prepare
It's-
for next
Nobody
week's
has
game?
a weird topic to talk about.
Well,
I
Do you guys want me to reread my lawyer statement?
Yeah, we started off with the weird thing.
That's true.
We started off with the weird thing. We'll have something weird next time.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, just when you're talking about Deadpool and Wolverine, having Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds in that movie, like, the Magic Mike series now has competition. Those are two good-looking men.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Andy, you can watch Magic Mike when you're older.
Yeah.
I know what Magic Mike is. So, but yeah, Forgotten Saint, that'll be interesting. And I guess, I don't know, I'm stuck between two. Honestly, for my pick, I may do Berserk not because it's my game, honestly, it's because it's King Waluigi's game, and oh, actually, I know something I should talk about. In Kane's stream, it got talked a little bit about with like how guests work, and some people being like, "Oh yeah, I haven't been a guest
Oh,
yet." And,
yeah.
like, so I'll talk more about how like that whole thing works. I'm trying not to like spend all our guests immediately. I'm hoping this podcast to run for a long time. I want them to feel more like events, like, oh, a guest episode came out, that's cool, and not like every episode, because then nobody would care.
Mm.
You know,
And also,
I'm just glad that there are people that want to be on this show. I didn't
yeah.
know there were so many
Yeah.
people who wanted to be on. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
We're just professional yappers talking about fan games.
yeah, and also with like choosing who I wouldn't talk to, believe it or not, this is kind of my podcast. And for me, like the purpose of this podcast is kind of just to talk and have fun with people. I don't
Yeah.
see it as anything too serious. And so I would kind of want like people to come in that would like help with that energy. And also like people I would probably feel more comfortable around, like Oripoke. I had watched their streams and like talked with them a good fair bit. Nand, I have talked with a fair bit.
Maybe.
Yeah? I don't know.
Maybe.
Y'all,
I
don't know about
y'all
that
had a
one.
little bit of a stranger energy, but go
There
on,
was a
King.
lot of insults being thrown at each other. I don't know if they were friends.
That's true.
yeah. So yeah,
And I think the other thing is right now is jam season, so we've got
Mhm.
this is when we've got
Yeah.
a lot to talk about with or without
Yeah.
guests. So might be a while till a guest episode.
Yeah,
most likely.
and that's not specifically like Kenny. We're never putting you on here. It's like, yeah, we'll get to you.
Yeah,
So help me.
there's definitely people I
Like-
have in mind.
I think
But-
like there's been a lot of like in that stream specifically there was a lot of people who asked, and I think like all those people I'd be very comfortable having on the podcast. I think there's like there's there'd be a lot of great guests for this podcast, and you know,
Oh yeah,
as what Tycho said, we'll get to y'all eventually.
heck yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think Endless was the one who was saying, like, and since your podcast has a max of 4 people, that's a straight up lie. We have no max.
Well, it's just funny because every single guest episode someone's been missing, so
Yeah.
yeah.
they don't know the hidden 5-box layout that's just sitting there.
Yeah. No,
Oh,
it's
God.
there. And it's scuffed as hell, but it exists. But yeah, I'm very...
Okay. Want to send us
Very
off, Andy?
excited. Yeah, I hope y'all have enjoyed listening to our podcast and us starting to talk about the jam games. I don't know how many jam games we're gonna get through on the podcast. We'll try to get through as many as possible, at least. That should be realistic.
I mean, I also
don't-
don't think that like we need to dedicate a whole episode to every single fan game.
I don't think so
No.
either. Because some are
Some games can
also
be
shorter
hard
than
to-
others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Five Nights with Eevees, I don't think could have its own episode. From
We'll
what
see.
I played of it.
Yeah.
Samsara, I don't think so. From like because I haven't seen people.
I
play
mean, I
that
didn't think
as
we were gonna be
much.
able to fill a whole
Mhm.
episode about Perilous Heights, so
Oh.
Oh, well,
here
We
we
did it.
are.
I had very strong thoughts about it, so.
I'm very excited. If you had strong thoughts on this game, I can't wait to see the thoughts that you're gonna have on Forgotten Saint.
Oh no, I don't like that.
Oh no.
I do like that we all have like varied opinions. It does make it very interesting. We got quite lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like us four as hosts. It gives like a nice variety.
Yeah.
I feel like I
Especially
have
with
the
when one of
most
us
like
has-
normie ass opinions out of the like.
See, I was going to say that I have the most normie ass opinions because I don't like I don't have the game dev background as everybody else. Like
I guess I'm
everyone
talking
else
about
here
normie
has-
as in like game dev normie,
yeah.
because
No,
I assume most of the
just
people
don't
that
have-
watch this podcast are game devs.
Yeah, that's also
Yeah, not
fair.
all. I mean, the duo design I know is one that I don't think is a game dev who watches.
I don't
don't know.
know.
I don't know, I'm looking through.
Everyone else
Actually,
I
no, there
talked
is
to.
a lot of game devs. L, Crimson, Karthik, Crimson again, Nand, Mashiro Sakura, Evan. Okay, yeah, no, it's a lot of
Oh.
devs.
Evan watches this podcast? Wait, what? No way.
Yeah, Sarcasm. They
What the
commented.
what? Wow.
Yeah, they commented on the Pokemon interview with Oripoke episode.
Wow.
I found
Yeah,
out he
no.
follows me on Twitter, and that still blows my mind. Not
Dude.
Oripoke, Evan.
Yeah, no, with like Ethereal Gates, that was literally like one of the first fan games I knew about that introduced me in that article that I've talked about. And like, hey, Pokemon fan games exist, like Uranium, Ethereal Gates. So, Evan watching the podcast is a little surreal to me.
Yeah,
Oh no.
actually.
Oh no, he doesn't follow me. Come on.
I imagine that's
Dang.
from the past because Evan used to be a lot more active in the community, and so I imagine
Yeah.
That's true.
it's from then.
Probably. Oh yeah,
We also
speaking
have
of.
some like Aki and Invader
Oh,
Zen.
yeah.
A couple others that aren't as vocal, but still like the silent supporters are the most important supporters. Thank you to you two.
Mhm.
Purple Zafra. Oh, the Missy Orange developer. Which.
We've converted
Honestly-
them. They weren't gonna actually watch this podcast until we had an entire Misty Orange episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I didn't talk about this on the podcast yet. On YouTube, we're going off on a tangent, but I don't care. On YouTube, I got a video recommended to me that was a playthrough of Miss Orange that had like 300,000 views.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, get him the respect it deserves.
I
Yeah.
mean,
It just got naturally like recommended to me.
Misty Orange is my most viewed video on my YouTube channel, which is interesting.
I wonder why.
Even more than the hiccuping episode?
All I'm gonna
Even
say,
more than what?
what can I say
Yeah,
that's
but-
not just straight up saying what I'm trying to say?
I think it's easy clickbait in a sense, or not even clickbait, just easy bait.
Oh, Lux Diablo watched the podcast at some point at least.
I mean, I told Lux he got shouted out. I tell Lux he gets shouted out every single time I shut him out. So
Pokehacks? Who the hell? Wait, who's Pokehacks?
you don't know Pokéax?
No. I mean, he's also never played any of my games.
Very popular.
I don't even think he played Abstract, thinking back on it. Nope. Wow.
Just because someone doesn't play abstract doesn't mean they're not
Wow.
important, Andy.
Alright, yep, their opinions are completely nullified. They haven't played Abstract.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that reminds me. This is so, in the past, but I remember it because Iray also made a video on the jam games, or at least some of them. The
Yeah.
ones with the threads that have the most views, which is neither here nor there. Iray's videos aren't entirely for me. I figure that out at this point. They're just the personality and like tone of the videos isn't exactly my thing. But no, like Iray talked about Abstract at one point in time and just said the story was okay, but then didn't go into it at all. I'm like, wow, just discrediting and throwing away a whole fourth of the team's work. Okay.
Andy's got beef.
Oh, I do. And then and then when they talked about Berserk, I think y'all have realized at this point it's not like a traditional Pokemon game.
Really?
I
Mhm.
don't think that's a secret. I also don't really make traditional Pokemon games. I don't really like them, as I've talked about before on this podcast, but literally in the video, Iray was just like, yeah, this game is Gen 2, and it's just a normal Pokemon game outside of that. And I'm just like, putting a thumbs up,
Ouch.
going like, thanks.
Look, so if I'm gonna defend A-Ray here, as like he is doing a great service for the fan game community. He's really trying to push fan games, and he's really trying to get people to play fan games. And
Oh yeah.
he's being, instead of being, I don't view him as like he's not gonna play your fan game. He's not gonna like give super deep coverage of your fan game. What he is gonna do is he's gonna sell your fan game. And he's gonna do what he feels is right to sell your fan game. So it's probably easier to sell a fan game. I mean, I pretty much know this for a fact. It's easier to sell a fan game when people think it's a normal Pokemon game than when it's not.
Also, Andy, Abstract's literally in the thumbnail of a video called The Best Pokemon Fan Games You've Never Played.
Oh, I know. No, that was the one when they said the story was just okay, but they don't care about the story, and then just glossed over it.
Right.
But it's
But
still
still
one of the best fan
the
games you'll
best.
never play.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, for all the stuff that I wasn't a part of.
Abstract would have been better off without you, Andy.
Exactly. You know, they shouldn't have got me. Well, no, honestly, looking back on it, Abstract wouldn't have happened without me. Because Nan was, like, so set in stone and not getting anyone on the team. He was like, no, I'm gonna do it by myself. I'm like, Nan, that is a suicide mission. Because, like, he was willing to make the fake mon, the maps, the story, the gyms, like, all of that.
Without anyone else.
Nope.
That's wild.
Sweet mercy.
Anyways, now I'm gonna properly sign us off. I hope you all enjoyed. Next time we'll talk about...
Perilous Heights and
Not
probably
Perilous
some other
Heights.
stuff.
You mean Forgotten
Not
Saint?
Perilous
Well,
Heights.
probably not Perilous
Oh, not
Heights,
Perilous
Forgotten
Heights.
Saint.
Forgotten Saint.
Yes,
Saint.
probably other stuff. Yeah, I'll, So yeah, I hope you stick around for that. That will be coming out in a
Yay.
week. So yeah, we'll see you all
Bye-bye.
next time.
Bye.